Welcome. So let's start building our app without losing any more time. Who needs another introduction? All right, so in the beginning, we'll create modules. Data controller, UI controller, and app controller. So let's set up the event listener for the add button in our app controller, document query selector. Okay, so now we need to know the class or the ID name of this button. In order to do that, let's check out our HTML file. So this is the class that is attached to this button. So I'm going to copy it. All right, so let's go back and paste it here, and we'll use the add event listener method. Now what we want in here is the click event, and then the function that gets executed as soon as the user clicks on the button. Cool, so let's test it out. Console log button was clicked. Reload the page. Boom, it works. All right, so let's create a list here of what we want to happen. So first, we'll get input data from DOM. Then, add the task to the data structure. Then, add the task to the UI. And finally, clear the field. Cool. Now let's add one more event listener, because we not only want all of this here to happen when someone hits the button, but also when someone hits the enter key, right? So we will achieve this by using a key press event. All right, so now we're going to do it in a slightly different way. We're not going to select anything. So we're just going to add this event listener into the global document, right? It's because this key press event doesn't necessarily happen on any specific element, but it happens on the global web page on global development, well, anywhere in the document, basically. So document, add event listener, key press, and function. Now the function in here can receive an argument, which is the event argument. Actually, we can use any name for this, but hey, it's an event, so what else are you going to call it? Event. So now let's test it out. Console log event reload the page. Now hit any button. And as you can see, it is an object with a lot of properties. So for this project, we only need the key code property. Return keys key code is 13. And we only want to execute some code when this user hits a return key. So we're going to achieve that with an if statement. If event.keycode equals 13, or event dot which equal 13, So we use the which here for older browsers. Console log. Enter was pressed. Reload the page. All right, so let's press some random keys. Nothing happens. So press the return key. There you go. Enter was pressed. It sure enough is working. So we want the same things to happen there too. But because of the derive principle, we just can't copy this, right, and paste it. So let's create a function for this. We'll call it control add task. Copy the list here. And change the callback functions with this function. And that is done. So let's tidy up the code a bit, and let's create a variable called DOM strings in the UI controller. And let's put some strings in it. So the name of this one is the add button. So cut this code, paste it here, and write the new variable name instead. Now let's start with the first one. Get input data from DOM. Open HTML file, and we will take the data from this element. Now its class is the add description, so we'll copy this and go back to the JavaScript file. So first, let's create a variable for the string called task description. So let's paste that here. Now we can go down to the app controller, and I want to assign it to a new variable. Name input. Declare it here. Now let's write this to the console to understand what this actually is. Console log input. Reload the page. And here it is. But we don't need all of this, do we? I mean, we only use its value. So let's create a new variable for this. Text equals input.value. Declare it to console log text. Reload the page. And just like that, this is the data that we write here. Now, one more thing, we should prevent adding any empty data. So we'll do that with the if statement. So we'll write a description first. check for text. If there is text, do the next steps. And I don't have to use an else here, just if. So why don't we test it out? If you don't believe me, console, log. Box is not empty. Reload the page. And there you see it works. So we no longer need this. All right, so that's the end of this lesson. Cool. Good job. We'll see the next lesson where we're going to start adding tasks to the data structure. All right, see you then.